John Mayer has an endless amount of things up his sleeve, but today I'm going to show you 5 things that I think are essential if you want to sound like John Mayer. Playing with your thumb, percussive fingerpicking, double stops, staccato fingerpicking, and finally blues licks. So if you've been playing guitar for a while, you know about bar chords. There's major, there's minor, you can start on the 5th fret or the 6th, and there's a lot of different variations, okay? What John Mayer does is he picks up off a trend kind of started by Jimi Hendrix, later continued by Stevie Ray Vaughan and countless other players, where instead of playing that bar chord, where they bar this whole finger, they're going to take that root note and they're going to use their thumb. This gives them a lot of freedom underneath to kind of move around more while keeping that bass note. You can even go behind that fret and still keep that bass note. Now with the bar chord, you can't really do that. You can't get over here without taking off this bar, okay? And you're losing that bass note now. So I'm just gonna show you a couple ways to transform your bar chords into these thumb variations of these major and minor chords. So you've got your bar chord here. That's an A major. We're starting on the 5th fret, okay? What we're gonna do is instead, we're gonna replace that root note with our thumb. Then we're gonna skip a string and go with our ring finger on the 7th fret. So you got that octave. Then next string down on the G, you're going to use your middle finger on the 6th fret. So you got. Then after that, you're gonna bar the 5th fret of the B and E strings with your first finger. So you got. That makes a major chord, A major, just like the bar chord A major. Then from there you can kind of move around. Okay, so if we want to make a minor chord, like that A minor, starting from that same root note, normally it'd be like this. But what you're going to do is one more time, you're going to replace that root note with your thumb, skip a string, go ring finger, and then you're going to bar the next 3 strings, your G, B, and E. So now you have a little more room to move around underneath that. The second thing I'm going to show you is percussive fingerpicking. This is huge in John Mayer's playing. I mean, it's pretty much signature him, if you ask me. That's kind of like in Why Georgia, you'll see it like. So he's fingerpicking and he's also being percussive about it. He's keeping that beat because John Mayer didn't always have a band, so he was kind of like a one-man show. He had to keep that bass line with the riff, while also being the drummer. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, but basically the general idea is what you want to do is be the drummer with your right hand. So let's say that you're finger picking. Instead of going, just every time you do that beat, just slap down. So when you're doing that, to continue finger picking, you're gonna wanna kind of figure out a way to keep the notes going without having to mute every time that you slap down. So one way to do that is flick out your finger while you're hitting your beat. So you could also not continue the finger picking and kind of just make it be a muted percussive hit, you know? And there's no note going on during that hit. It's just the hit. So a way to pull that off is do your notes and then mute everything while you hit. You don't want to kind of like hit it and let it ring out. Unless you want that, of course. So you're just maintaining that beat with your right hand. If you're writing your own song and you want to maintain that beat, you just need to write around making sure you maintain that beat. So let's say you're finger picking. How would you do that? So you go. You just figure out your own unique ways to do it, just like John Mayer did. Now on to double stops. Double stops are like mini chords. So a chord needs 3 notes in order to be considered a chord. And a double stop is just 2 notes. So John Mayer will use double stops a lot within like main riffs over chord progressions. You'll hear it in like Perfectly Lonely. And you'll even hear it subtly in songs like Slow Dancing in a Burning Room where he goes. So those are very popular. You'll even hear them in a lot of songs like Tom Petty's Somebody's Baby. That's just a bunch of 2-note chords going on, or mini chords. So how to figure out how to play those is pretty simple. It depends on the key that you're in. Okay, there's 2 different shapes depending on what strings you're using. So if we're using the B string always kind of messes up shapes. But let's say we're not using the B string. Say we're using the D and the G. So if we're going to start here on this minor chord, like it's Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, we're going to play the 11th fret on the D and the 9th fret on the G. From there, you're either going to have that shape, or as you go down or up the scale, you're going to have this shape, where it's only 1 fret apart for each. So that's 9th fret on the D, 8th fret on the G. So you've got this shape and that shape. Now as you go down or up the scale, it's going to be one of those 2 shapes as long as you're staying on those strings. So you wouldn't want to go. Okay, that's out of the scale now. So it's, and then it's this one, and then back to this one. So just figure out the pattern. You'll know when you mess up. All right, here's a really interesting one. This is staccato fingerpicking, or at least that's what I call it. It sounds really cool with the guitar effect, or as a subtle way to keep the rhythm with the guitar, either in the background or the foreground. You can really mess around with this one a lot, and you can play it with quarter notes, 8th notes, 16th notes. You could sprinkle some triplets in there. John Mayer does it all when it comes to staccato fingerpicking. So a song that I think is his best with staccato fingerpicking would be I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You. So it's like, okay? He does this a lot, like in a lot of different songs. So what staccato fingerpicking is basically is when you don't let the notes ring out in between. So instead of going, you're gonna stop it, like you're gonna mute it between every time you hit the chord. So if I were gonna slow that down, it'd be like, okay? Instead of, you get the picture. The last thing I'm gonna show you is probably the most important, and it's John Mayer's blues licks. The way that he uses blues in pop music is generally what gave him his sound, if you were to ask me at least. So he'll play a minor pentatonic, a basic minor pentatonic, for instance, in the song I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You. Instead of going, he'll throw some blues notes in there. So he'll throw some notes that are outside of the scale, but he'll tastefully throw them in there, and only for a brief moment, and come back to the scale. So you're kind of out of the scale, and what that does is if you do it right, it's tasteful, okay? It's very jazzy, it's bluesy. It's like it just sounds so good. But if you stay on that note too long, it's gonna sound horrible. So what he does in this, for instance, with this, instead of just playing, he slides into it and he hammers on there, so, okay? And then when he goes, instead of just going to that note, he'll go, this note right here, that's not in the scale. That doesn't sound good, okay? But if you use it for that brief moment just to get to this note, it sounds great. So once he goes, instead of just hitting that note, he's gonna blues it up. So he's gonna slide to it. Here's a boring way to play this riff. Instead, you're gonna see John Mayer add some blues, some jazz, and play it different every time. Have some fun with it, like. So just know that it's going to take a long time to ever get to the level of John Mayer, if you ever get there. And really, there is no level of John Mayer. He is a combination of a lot of different things. A huge influence of his is Stevie Ray Vaughan, and a huge influence of Stevie Ray Vaughan is Jimi Hendrix, and Jimi Hendrix has a ton of influences. So really, don't try to sound like one person. Take different elements like John has with all of his inspirations and form your own, because really, if you want to have that unique sound, the only way to have it is by being unique. So I hope this video helped you. Let me know if you want more. My name is Brandon. I appreciate you watching. Peace.